Welcome to the Marketing Corner, hosted by Shawn Campbell, and we are thrilled to have you with us today. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned small business owner, or a marketing pro looking to sharpen your skills, you're in the right place. We're all about bringing you the latest insights, strategies, and real-world advice to help you thrive in today's competitive market. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Here's your host, Shawn Campbell.
And good morning, Southern Arizona. Good morning, Tucson. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to the Marketing Corner. I am your host, Shawn Campbell. And proud of the Cats yesterday. They took care of Akron rather handedly. My guest today, he said he was born in Akron. So part of him is a little depressed this morning, but part of him is very, very happy. But by the end of this show, everybody's going to be happy. This is the 30th episode of the Marketing Corner. And I have to say that we've had so many tremendous guests that tell their stories, that tell their passions, to kind of give their ups and downs and, just very inspirational. But I think today's episode, you better grab your pen and pencil, take some notes, because this is by far going to be the most informative episode of the 30 so far. Again, the previous 29, very informative. There are some, I should say the previous 20, very, very inspirational, some informative. This one's going to be more informative, and we're not going to provide any inspiration to you at all, but to let you know just how far behind you are in your digital marketing. Was that inspiring, Robert?
I am so inspired. Saturday morning, I woke up inspired. So
today's co-host is Robert Callesen, eForce Marketing. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Yay, thanks so much. I appreciate it. What an honor to be on the Marketing Corner.
Yeah, we're a sponsor.
Campbell.
You're a sponsor. It's our show. Yep. It's our show. Yeah, so we did zero rehearsal because when Robert and I get talking, we'll take up an hour easy, and we nerd out on marketing. We nerd out specifically on digital marketing. And this is really going to be when I say the most informative, packed show, this is going to be it right here, because we're going to give you all the ins and outs of your online presence. We're going to give you the do's and don'ts. We're going to give you, what you should, aspire to be online. How much, a good online presence could add to the value of your business. We just had that conversation not too long ago with a business broker in town. So we're going to hit all the chords there. If you have any questions about your SEO, about your website, about your social media, your Google business profile, we are here to answer them today. 520-790-2040, 520-790-2040. Call and ask all the questions that you need to ask about any part of your marketing, in particular your online presence. Robert, eForce Marketing, you and I have known each other for a good about 10 years now.
Yeah,
you realize that?
Yep.
Yeah. How long have you had eForce?
About 15 years.
15?
Yep.
What do you say is your bread and butter? You're dominant in this particular area?
So digital marketing encompasses a lot of different factors, right? And it includes social media, which, Shawn, you're an absolute ace in.
Thank you.
Of course. We do have some overlap in what we do.
Yeah.
But my bread and butter would be SEO, which is search engine optimization, which we'll get into probably a little bit later.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of details involved with that. And then also websites.
Yeah.
We're primarily here in Tucson and throughout Arizona. We're in other states as well. But, I love doing websites. And I like to say that we do Hollywood-style websites at Walmart pricing. So,
What do you say is maybe the top 2 or 3, maybe 4 common opportunities people have in their websites? I mean, you sign on a new client. What are some of those common things that you are immediately correcting?
So that's a great question. People need to realize, business owners need to realize that your website is really your calling card.
Yeah.
Online.
Yep.
It's your first impression for any potential clients, current clients. So it's really important that it's done correctly. Probably one of the biggest opportunities I see, especially for existing websites, is that the look, the feel, the customer interaction, the customer experience, essentially, that could probably be improved. And also, too, I see some business owners that create a website with so much content and so much information that it really becomes an informational website rather than a sales tool, which is what most websites should be designed for.
Yeah, but I know what people are asking right now. Should it not have a ton of content on there?
It should have enough. It should be informative. Especially for the homepage, for example. It should have a certain amount of content, a certain amount of images. It should look attractive, professional, of course. Any other detailed information that a business owner wants to share with the market or visitors, they can find those on subsequent pages on the website.
Right.
They can get a little bit deeper, have links on the homepage, read more or whatever, and then it goes into different pages. But your especially your homepage should be pretty concise, and it should have, getting into number 2 opportunity, would be a big call to action. So rather than just be informative, you want to drive people to your website, and then you want to drive people from the website to pick up the phone and call and become a new customer.
Right.
So, and that's done by having a strong call to action. Make your appointment today, call today, special offer happening right now.
Yeah. And for me, for my 2 cents, that's the most common opportunity I see in websites, is not having that call to action always present, especially on mobile. I mean, do you know in general what kind of breakdown when people are visiting the site? Are they going to be on their laptop or their mobile, or is it a kind of a 50-50 split, maybe? It's almost
50-50. We're seeing a migration more to mobile. Interestingly, the tablets are not even 5%.
Really?
Yeah, so it's desktop or mobile.
Wow, interesting. So, and of course, the importance, and this is another thing that I see, is that when you see a website on desktop, it doesn't really translate very well to mobile, right? So what's that called? Mobile responsiveness?
Yep, it's a responsive website, right? And most web developers, they know to make the website well, with a great look for, of course, desktop and then for mobile.
Yeah. So give us your what is the 3-pillar spiel? I like when you do that. The 3 pillars of digital marketing.
So they're really to be found online to build your web presence. So we have 3 what we call pillars of marketing. Okay, one is what Shawn does. It's social media. That's extremely important to elevate your business online. It was really interesting. We didn't see Google's analytics really pick up social media or the importance of social media until probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago maybe. We were kind of ahead of the curve, which is great for our clients. But it's very, very important. So you have to have a strong social media presence, and it really depends on where your business is, because it may be a play for Facebook and Twitter. If you have a lot of images, for example, you may be on Instagram, or as my daughter calls it, Insta. Right?
The gram.
I got to keep up with the younger terminology. So, but it's extremely important. And then the other pillar would be, of course, your website. Again, that's your calling card online. That's really your anchor for everything else. And getting back a little bit to the third opportunity for websites that you asked, would actually be the social media integration to the website. And that could be a sub-program that automatically uploads your latest 3 or 4 posts. You definitely would want to have your links for your Facebook, X or whatever on your website itself. A lot of people don't do that, but it's very important, and it really helps helps your customers get more integrated into the whole experience of your business.
Okay? One thing that you're phenomenal, and you're doing this right now, I don't know if you realize that you're very good at explaining things in terms that I think the average person, the average business owner understands. One of the things that I come across when I meet other, website developers, SEO guys, is that they speak in terms that it goes way over your head. So just want to commend you on that you're explaining things very, very easily, Robert, as you always do.
I appreciate that. Well, if you're a surgeon and talking all this jargon and your patients, what? And then they
Yeah.
You know, they may sign up, but they really don't know what they're signing up for.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer to educate any potential customer, whether they come with me for their service or someone else. At least they're educated and know, you know, what to ask and some of the information that they can comprehend easily.
Yeah. We got less than 2 minutes before the first break, Robert. How did you get into this? I know you can't cram it into 2 minutes, but what was your previous life before you became a digital marketer?
Had a few different projects. I have a strong marketing. I have a marketing degree, and I was in corporate. I worked for Kimberly-Clark.
Wait a minute, you're a digital marketer with a marketing degree?
Can you believe that?
We're both in the same room.
It was kind of funny because I was in international business at Kimberly-Clark for a number of years, and not really to do with marketing, but a lot with systems and logistics and stuff like that. And then I got into sales. Which is part of marketing, of course.
Absolutely.
And then I got into, I made the mistake just before the big recession, was get into the mortgage business, which is great until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. But I think all along the way you kind of took bits and pieces of all your career, as did I, to do what we're doing right now. So we got about 30 seconds to the break. We're with Robert Callesen from eForce Marketing. I want to get into a little bit more like after a person goes to a website and picks up the phone and calls a client. And we're going to get into that and share a few stories there. You're listening to the Marketing Corner. If you have any questions for us, 520-790-2040. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're back in the Marketing Corner. I'm your host, Shawn Campbell. We're here with co-host and sponsor, one of the new sponsors of the show, Robert Callesen from eForce Marketing, ready to dominate the web.
Yes, sir.
Just like you heard, right?
Yeah, just like it says on my website, dominate the web.
We're going to detract a little bit from the online stuff. And, you and I have shared a few stories of you and I could do our jobs very, very well, right? But at the end of the day, when somebody goes online, finds one of our clients and makes the phone call or fills out the form, it comes down to customer service.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the things, like, I believe that, and feel free to disagree and debate with me, Mr. Callesen.
Sir.
I believe that every business owner should have the entire organization know how much they're spending in ad spend and how much they're investing into our services. So they know when someone walks into the door as a result from what you and I have done to help our client or picked up the phone and call, that they should be aware that this is an investment. So, have you had to kind of coach some of your clients on how to do the simple things like answer a phone and how to greet people and all the above?
I would say probably half of my clients.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, they're all virtually excellent at what they do in the service and products.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not being critical of a small business owner. They are experts for a reason.
Yep.
However.
So it's actually, it's kind of funny, but it's an easy problem to fix most of the time.
Yeah.
So for some of our clients, we have, I'm sure you know what it is, a call rel or call tracking.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do some marketing campaigns for them.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, the client will say, hey, I'm not getting any clients. And, of course, we go back to the program and say, well, you got 30, 40, 50 calls last month.
Yeah.
And we have recordings of all those.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would say they're somewhat less than professional when answering the phone. I've had clients that I got recordings of, right? A legitimate customer calls them, and they'll say, this is Robert. And then the customer gets confused, right?
Right.
I thought I was calling Robert's Pizza.
Right.
And no, this is Robert. And then it just takes a moment.
Yep.
And then it's like, be nice, be kind, right?
Right.
Have some good branding when you answer your phone. They spend a lot of money, not necessarily a lot of money, but some funds, marketing funds, to get that phone ringing.
Yep.
So you need to do it in a very professional way.
And by no means am I saying I'm perfect as a business owner, right? I'll be honest, I've had a few people kind of rip into me because I wasn't as responsive, as maybe I should have been. I'll admit, I've made the same mistake. However, especially when you're investing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in Google ad spend or in Facebook ads, and the phone begins to ring, people begin to walk in. People are going to leave 1, 2, star reviews, and
Right.
all that money's just wasted. Wasted. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a video a while back that says answer your phone.
Not that video. Oh, this one.
Because
Was
that's
this the one when you're in Europe?
long time ago, But it does happen where the phone rings and no one answers. We get this with
you did that while you're on the road, huh?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
that was a good video.
Yeah.
That was a good video.
I got someplace. But it's important, and you got to answer your phone. That's your golden ticket for additional business. And if you don't, I promise you, if you don't answer your phone as a business, the customer will call the next one down the line.
Yeah.
We work very hard to elevate presence of our clients online. You get on the front page, one of the top 3 of the Google Maps, and get that phone ringing.
Yeah.
And then it's not answering.
Yeah. Again, I am not being critical. I'm just saying it's frustrating when you and I do our job. Just recently, I called a customer on their business line, and their response was, "Hello."
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like, what?
And I was like, did I get the wrong number?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, oh no, you got this. This is how you doing? Like,
it happened. The one on the flip side, I have a client of mine, GT Skid Steers. If I can throw out a name.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's your show.
So he does a lot of land clearing and lot clearing and landscape stuff.
Yeah.
And he's always busy. He's one of the business owners that actually works on his business.
Yeah.
So he's in the skid steer. He's he's all over the place doing the job.
Yeah.
So what I admire about him, and I think it's an opportunity for the business owners to look and follow, is he can't always answer his phone, but he has his phone on vibrate. So if he's in the middle of a big job, he may not be able to answer. But what he's really great at is, like, as soon as he possibly can, within a minute or so, he will text back the person saying, "Hey, I'm on a job. Can I give you a call back?" So he touches base. He touches that customer, right?
Yeah.
And then typically, "Oh, sure, no problem." And then and then they'll. But you just can't ignore them.
Yeah.
But he's really great at that. So there are definitely lots of business owners that are absolutely doing it correctly.
Yeah. Does SEO work?
So I'm going to circle back to your first question, or one of your first questions, the 3 pillars.
The 3 pillars.
So we've got SEO.
Yep.
We got the website, and we got the social media marketing, and then the third pillar is SEO, which is search engine optimization.
For even dim that down even more, it's like how easy you're found from your keywords from what your business. Is that kind of accurate?
It is. So people ask, well, what's a search engine? Yeah. Well, search engine is when you get online, and it could be a number of different things. The biggest one, of course, is Google.
Yep.
Google, they own like 85% of the search engine market. So
then
that's
after that
Google.
would be maybe Bing and Yahoo.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so when you're talking about SEO, it's search engine optimization. You want to optimize your website. You want to optimize your presence online for the benefit of Google and the other search engines, and Yahoo, whatnot. So that when people type in, like you're saying, a keyword. Yep. So getting back to, I use social media, right? So social media marketing in Tucson, right? You're very high on the search engines.
There you go.
Good job. Your reputation, I think. So people
I don't know
find
about my reputation, but that reputation. Yeah.
The good reputation.
The good reputation.
Your Google reviews.
My Google reviews.
Which we'll get into after a bit, but that's really important as well.
Yeah. I'm going to write that one down, make sure we get to that. Right. Google reviews. We got to talk about that. Go ahead.
Yep. So search engine optimization, it's not just optimizing a website, which is extremely important. That's the number one thing we do when we bring on a new client. Whether we do a new website for them or they have a website already that we need to tweak and optimize. So we have some sub-program and some other sub-programs on the website that we put on, and other programs, auditing programs that we use. To really define what it is that we can do to help optimize that website for keywords specifically. Right. So in your case, it'd be social marketing, Facebook marketing, Facebook ads, things like that. So we can hit a couple different. We don't want to target a lot of different keywords,
right?
Because then we start getting diluted a little bit in our efforts. So usually the top 3, maybe 5. So that's really important. Then aside from optimizing the website, there's a whole strategy outside the website. It's called off-page SEO.
Okay.
So on-page SEO for the listeners and watchers. On-page is really for your website. So in case you hear that terminology, off-page is optimization strategy outside your website, which that includes a lot of different things. It can include blogs. It can include getting your local profile set up.
Yeah.
Not to get too technical, but backlinks, social signals, and those have to be done in a very strategic, thoughtful way. Otherwise, if you don't do it correctly, you're going to be relegated to page 100 on Google. Because
what are negative keywords?
Negative keywords?
Yeah. So
like keywords that you don't necessarily...
Is that calling somebody a bad person?
Yeah.
You're a jerk.
So we always like to focus on what the most popular keywords would be.
Right.
And we have a program. It's called SERPs, and it's for Google, and some other programs offer this as well. So we'll type in, let's say it's a Medicare agent. So we'll put
David Bradley. Listen,
I threw that out there on purpose, right?
We're talking to you, David.
Exactly. So I'll put in the program. Okay, does Medicare agent does that get more hits as far as people searching for that key term, or does Medicare professional, Medicare expert, or just Medicare? And then it gives me a whole list, and then I can kind of cherry pick that term that gets the most attention from people searching for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And then we'll focus on that main keyword. And sometimes it's totally different than what I would expect myself. And I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I had that lesson a long time ago when I was working with a guy who does water heaters, right? And he gave me a lesson. He's like, I was doing just keywords with water heaters because that's what I do. However, what people search are hot water heaters.
Right, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
It was that one little term, but the hot water heaters is not just water heaters. So when he adjusted his terms to hot water heaters, that's when his business started to really take off. Very, very interesting stuff.
No, I can definitely see that. So, and then the other part of our program, it shows us how much competition, and sometimes we'll find a key term or key phrase that gets a lot of volume as far as searches are concerned. The competition is very low. And then that's a lot easier for us to penetrate into the market for our client.
Oh, yeah. So that makes sense too.
So it's a whole strategy that goes into it, and with our goal for eForce marketing, our main goal is to help elevate companies' presence online, make it a lot easier for potential clients, customers to find them, and of course put them on their website, get them on the phone, and become new clients.
Awesome. We got a minute till the break. When we come back from the break, Mr. Callesen, let's dive in a little bit into social media and dive into some of the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You want to do anything else? Maybe TikTok a little bit?
Do TikTok for sure. And then
we'll talk about TikTok. Is it just a talk? Ask your daughter if it's just a talk. Or is it TikTok?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Call her up during the break.
She's
Call her up during. Oh, she's working right now.
No, that's not send her a text. I will have the answer at
when
the end
we
of the
come
break.
back. All right. You are listening to the Marketing Corner. I am your host, Shawn Campbell, with co-host today, Robert Callesen. We are back in the Marketing Corner. I am your host, Shawn Campbell, with co-host today, Robert Callesen from eForce Marketing. We're going to dive a little bit in this segment into social media. Then we want to get into the importance of Google reviews afterwards, right?
Yep.
So you and I both, specialize in social media. When you're working with a client, how do you determine what platform they should be on?
Yeah, another great question. It really depends who their market is. If they're going after a younger crowd, and it depends on their product and service as well. Because Instagram might be a perfect fit for them. If they're like a financial planner, for example, that's that their target is more the older crowd. Which Facebook is pretty much dominating now for anyone over 40 or so. So that we put more weight and attention to something like Facebook and X as well. X is more comprehensive, I think. But there's some things we look at.
And I love LinkedIn. I do. I mean, especially for if you're targeting professionals, targeting people with a little bit more expendable income, if you want to really put a heavy emphasis or put some weight behind your personal brand, especially your LinkedIn, your personal LinkedIn profile, is something that you should create unique content for that's true to you and your journey and your story, right? And also you can create a LinkedIn company page, and it's very easy. I'm gonna say it's easy, but it's not as complex as building a following on Facebook is today. Actually, with Facebook, they brought back and the ability to, promote your page and earn followers. That was gone for a little bit. But on LinkedIn, it's a little bit easier because you get what they call credits. You get 250 credits to send out to your connections on the personal side to follow your company page every month. And then if you have a number of those that follow your page during the month, your credits get, replenished. So if you send out 250 credits to follow your company page on LinkedIn, 10, 20, 30 people follow your page, then you get those 10, 20, 30 more credits that month to use.
Okay, there you
go. So yeah.
So let me ask you a question on LinkedIn. I think it's probably the least underutilized,
it
right?
Still is,
the most underutilized platform out there, especially for business to business.
Right.
Do you see it as a better fit for business to business
Absolutely.
or business to
business to
B2C?
business?
Okay.
Business to business, you're 100% right. And then, that's 1A, 1B, like I was saying before, to really put some firepower behind your personal brand, right? Especially if you're not a business owner, you're an executive, or, you're kind of a C-suite person. You really want to put some content out there to tell people who you are and your story and your journey, and really kind of be a little bit vulnerable. There are some tremendous profiles on LinkedIn right now that do a phenomenal job. Holly Crawshaw is somebody that, if you're on LinkedIn, follow her and see what she does, and she's absolutely phenomenal. She in my opinion, she provides a blueprint of what you should be doing on your personal profile. So Holly Crawshaw.
Okay, everyone got that?
Yeah. So, and I've never met her. I think she lives some out in the Midwest, but I follow her every day to see what she, the content she puts out there, and it's inspiring, and she's vulnerable, and she gives tips on how to build your own LinkedIn profile. So really good.
That's a great idea, not just for LinkedIn, but as a business owner, if you happen to see other profiles, business profiles out there, use it as an example, as a template.
Right.
Maybe there are things that you can do for your own business, or maybe give direction to your service provider. For example, and that includes posts. It includes the main banner.
Yeah.
Also, too, let me just add this, Shawn. Maybe you see this with some of your clients that you end up taking over. I found that a lot of clients don't fully fill out their social media platforms.
Yeah.
I see this a lot with Google My Business page.
Right.
They don't have the products or services, and that alone can help differentiate you and tell Google, it's like, hey, this business is much more interactive, it's much more a player than its competition. Let's elevate it in the search engines.
Or even, profiles on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn that are actually hold on. I was getting a message in my Meta glasses. But inconsistencies, or the branding's different, even the logo's different. You're making it complicated for someone to follow you, and it's really a more common mistake than you would imagine. So you did call your daughter during the break.
I did.
And what did she say about TikTok?
So we were talking about TikTok, and I said, do you have a short name for TikTok, like Insta, for Instagram? And she's like, nope, just TikTok.
Just TikTok.
And I'm like, so no Tiki, no Taki, just TikTok? And she's like, yeah, just TikTok.
Yeah. So thanks for the verification.
Yes, we got
Appreciate
that.
it.
From an 18-year-old.
Yeah, so. Speaking of TikTok, have you dabbled at all in the TikTok with any of your clients?
I have not.
Yeah.
Actually, a little bit. It's just, it's not for my particular clients, it's not the perfect play.
Right.
But it's absolutely very, very important.
Phenomenal
it's powerful.
Platform. The thing is, you need obviously a lot of video content, right? You got to have a lot of video content because TikTok will reward you the more consistent you are on TikTok. If you put a post up, every week, once every 10 days, it's hard to get a lot of traction. It is. But here's the thing. If you do produce those little 30, 60 minute and a half long clips, why not utilize that content for TikTok? I got to tell you a real quick story too. Utilize it for YouTube Shorts,
Okay.
Utilize it for reels and stories. So cross-utilize this content if you're going to take the time and effort to produce these really good videos, right? One quick story, I was on, I may or may not have been on a call in the last couple of weeks. We're going to keep this very, very general. And I was corrected when I was saying that, I was asked advice for a particular business page on Facebook. And I was saying, well, one of the things, I love the video, I love you're doing videos. However, see that little TikTok logo on the video, you're sharing directly from TikTok or downloading it from TikTok and put it on Facebook. Facebook doesn't like that. Facebook doesn't like that. None of the platforms like that. They want to see the videos uploaded on their platforms as seen as quote unquote original, right? Original content. I was corrected, quote unquote corrected, by this client's daughter who said, no, Facebook was bought, TikTok was bought by Facebook. Don't you know? Duh.
You're like, I'm like, news to me?
Yeah. And I was like, I gave up. That was 5 minutes into the conversation.
But she said that with such confidence, right? You were almost believing it.
And then the client's looking at me like I'm an idiot.
Right. Didn't you know that?
Don't you know that? How do you not know that? So I gave up on that. I totally gave up. Breaking news. TikTok has not been bought by Facebook.
Right.
Anyway, when you're doing video, video is king of content when it comes to social media, period, right? Be vulnerable. Do not overthink it. That there is, software out there to take out all the ums and ers and whatever, right? Most video on social media is actually muted. So make sure you have some software like opus.com is tremendous. So you have the text on the video, right? So, I mean, you got to be vulnerable. You got to get in front of the camera. You got to, invest in a little tripod, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, and tell your story or give tips, right? I think you and I always talk about, if you're an automotive mechanic, the best kind of video you could put out there is how to prevent seeing the automotive mechanic, right? You're positioning yourself as a leader in the industry, in the community, and someone who's very, very trustworthy. So.
Yeah, let me add to that a little bit. Sometimes business owners, they think, I have to have this extremely professional, well-polished video. You don't. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from what we're seeing, those people that are just keep it real.
Keep it real.
And just be
keep it
genuine.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And, it may not be perfectly edited.
Yep.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Your message reigns over
unless
everything.
That's the purpose of the video. Unless it's like a promotional video. Then you call Danny at Last Bridge Media. You're welcome, Danny. Right. However, I've seen some of the best Facebook ads I've ever seen run were just little testimonials for a business. That was very authentic, very real. People resonate with that more than the people that, look at us. If you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify right now, we're just two average Joes, We're above average in our looks, maybe.
Yeah. Well, of course, they say we both have faces for radio. So.
We have faces for radio, right? But we're approachable. I think I'm very approachable. Very casual. So anyway, in the last segment, let's get into Google reviews and a big question. How much does a strong online presence add to the value of your business? We're going to talk about that a little bit. So
perfect.
We are with co-host and a relatively new sponsor of the show, Robert Callesen from eForce Marketing. You are listening to the Marketing Corner. If you have any questions, please call in 520-790-2040. We'll be back in a few minutes. Back in the Marketing Corner, I'm your host, Shawn Campbell, and as always, we start the last segment by thanking John, our engineer, for getting us through the show. All the Marketing Corner sponsors, including Bill Netherton from Professional Bartenders Unlimited, David Bradley, Medicare A to Z, Ken is Eaton Seat in Photography, who did a 5K iron mud thing in Vegas last weekend.
Whoa.
And she survived. Yep. Dana McPadden, Last Bridge Media, Juan J.D. Delgado from Roofs Are Hot, Mo Russo, Executive Business Coach, Robert Callesen, eForce Marketing, and the brand new sponsor, Adley Hunt, who's a realtor. So she'll be on the show in a few weeks. Also, if you're listening out there and you want to get some networking in at the Arizona Sands, join us on April 1st. Seriously, it's April Fool's Day networking, but it's serious networking on April Fool's Day.
No fools.
No fools. We're not joking about it. It's Tuesday, April 1st. The admission is free, whether you are a member or non-member of the Sands. Myself, Adley, and another person. Another person will be co-hosting the event. Show up. I think we already got like 30 or 40 people already signed up, right? And if you hate networking, please show up. I'll help, introduce you to some people. I got a few people who are showing up. I'm sorry, my meta classes are going crazy right now. But show up April 1st. If you need more information, go on my LinkedIn profile and scroll through some of the posts and sign up there. Or just give me a text, 520-339-0259, and I'll give you the link to sign up for that. So I think that's all the admin stuff.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Can I just add something
Absolutely.
for networking?
Yeah.
So networking really helped boost my business when I first started eForce marketing.
Yeah.
So if you don't get out as business owners, entrepreneurs, and kind of get to know the community, it's a huge opportunity for you. I mean, I hit every networking group out there. I hit it hard for probably 6-8 months. And it just it really kind of helped my business take off.
I say this on almost every show here in Tucson. If I'm sitting across from a potential new client, one of the first things, even though I'm not going to get any business out of this advice, the best piece of advice I give any small business owner out there is to be 1 degree away from everybody else in town. Okay. If you can establish that, be 1 degree away. If you don't know somebody, at least know somebody knows somebody. That could help your business grow exponentially in this town. Even though we're about around 1 million in population, in surrounding areas, Tucson is still a very small, quote unquote, small town.
Yes, it is.
If you do that, the Sands Club is a perfect place to go network because everybody there is pretty much vetted. We're all paying $130 a month to pay for a $10 beer, right? So everybody in there is a small business owner, is a marketer, is a decision maker. You need to go in there and learn how to. I'm going to make sure I say it, shake hands and kiss babies, not shake babies and the other way around.
Well, and that's simply relational marketing, we call it, right? So the more relationships you set up, then that really helps with your referrals. Even if you don't do business directly with those people that you get to know,
they become your
billboards.
They
know someone.
They know somebody. They want to help you.
Reciprocate as well.
Right. So. Yeah. And real quick before we get into Google reviews, be a giver when it comes to networking. Don't just show up and pass out a bunch of business cards. Do every time you network, go out and try to set up at least one appointment for a cup of coffee or a lunch and get to know that person and see how you could serve them, how you can help them grow their business. If you do that consistently in this town, you'll be fine.
Yep. Don't be a salesperson.
No.
Be a helper.
Be a helper. Yep. Google reviews. Do they do they matter, Robert?
No, they don't. They have no relevance.
They have no relevance
in today's
at all.
Marketing world at all.
Next topic. No.
Yes. No, they're extremely important. Of course, as far as analytics are concerned. Yep. So you really need to have fresh reviews every week, at least every month. 2 or 3 fresh reviews. Google picks that up. And they say, okay, you're more legit because you have more clients that are, customers that are, putting either bad or good reviews. It's important. Obviously, you want the 5-star reviews. And as far as if a business has a 4.0 or higher, and that's out of 5 stars, then there's like an 80% chance that a customer will do business with you. If you fall below that 4.0 to 3.9, 3.8, it drops off dramatically. They'll go to the next option in Google. I mean, it's crazy. So it's really important to get more reviews, and we help our clients with some techniques to get valid reviews. One thing we don't advocate, of course, is just have 1,000 illegitimate reviews. Some places do. It's just they tend to fall off pretty quickly.
Yeah. And when you do get a bad review, I mean, you tell a story about coffee.
Yes.
So tell the coffee story.
So if you do get a bad review, that's okay. If you can offset that with a number of very good positive reviews, people understand that customers sometimes have bad days, business owners have bad days, but if you do get a bad review, the best thing you can do is respond to that review. In fact, you should be responding to all reviews, good and bad and different. Just reach out and say, hey, so sorry, that was your experience. We'll reach out to you. We'll do a private message to you and see how we can make it better. When other customers see that, they're like, okay, this business is trying its best to overcome a complaint. I did have a potential customer that we didn't do anything with, but it was a restaurant. And this is a while back, and the owner have been doing business for a number of years. He had a lot of bad reviews. He was sitting at, if I remember, about a 2.1 stars out of 5 stars. But most of the bad reviews had to do around his coffee. They hated his coffee. I mean, tell me, Shawn, is that a difficult problem to fix?
Not really.
I mean, you can fix it the next day just by a different coffee, right?
Right.
But he loved his coffee. He thought it was the best thing. But his last like 5 or 6 1-star reviews is, well, not just for the coffee. And then he had the front girl that was
not nice,
grading people, or pretty, not so kind.
Not so kind.
That's a training issue, very easily fixed. I mean, there's different coffees, so I approached this to him, and he called all those Google people hooligans.
Hooligans.
Those hooligans leaving bad reviews. It's like, they're just troublemakers. It's like, let me tell you something. These troublemakers are giving you $10,000, $20,000 worth of business advice.
Right.
Because they just identified 2 of your main problems. You can listen to them or you can't. He chose not to listen to them. Guess where his business is at today? Out of business.
Wow.
So, but it's listen to your customers. They're going to walk you directly to the path that you need to take to improve your business. Or keep doing the things that you're doing as well. So
we had a conversation a little while ago about the importance, not only for your business today, but a lot of business owners, somewhere down the line, if you don't already have an exit strategy or a strategy to sell your business, it's going to come into play at one point or another, right? When you have 2 businesses, one with very poor online presence, very poor SEO, a website that doesn't convert, very poor social media presence, versus the opposite end of that spectrum, with a very strong converting website, very strong SEO, good consistent social media, how much more, if they're in the same industry, do you think the business with a strong online presence would sell versus the one that doesn't?
Well, it's a double benefit to have a strong online presence, because it's giving you more money. It's bringing you more sales opportunities.
More sales today.
For all the years that you're a business owner for that particular company. So it has a tremendous value year after year after year, right? If it's managed correctly. When it comes time for your exit strategy and you want to sell it, we actually had a conversation with one of the top business brokers here in Tucson. And I asked her that very specific question. And in her terms, she says it could be a multiple of 3 or 4, but if you have a strong online presence, great looking website, social media interaction, and just online presence that's really strong, good reputation, as far as Google reviews and everything. She goes, that goes into the more subjective valuation of a company. And she said that can add another multiple or 2 multiples. It could be huge. It could take a company that's worth, on paper, maybe $500,000, up to like $7,000 or $8,000, instead of $500,000, maybe $700,000 or $800,000. So it could have a huge impact.
Right.
And then, of course, if you're looking to buy that business, which business do you want to pay a premium for?
Right.
One that's already established, has a great reputation and whatnot. Right?
So, one that has business coming in from their presence online versus one that you have to establish something. Or maybe even, spend way more money correcting all the errors, so.
And that's a great point. It's a well-optimized presence online. It's really the gift that keeps on giving. Right. It just has to be managed, but then people find you rather than doing mailers or other hard advertising to attract new customers.
We've got 2 minutes left in the show, Robert. Any parting words of wisdom for everybody out there?
Well, just hopefully people got a little bit out of this.
I think so.
What we're offering and some of the suggestions, and just getting back to the phone, that's a big thing. And answer your phone, be professional.
Speaking of your phone, do you have a phone number you want to put out, or a website address?
I do. It's eForcemarketing.com, eForce marketing.com. And My direct cell phone, which is attached to my website, is 520-309-0798. It's 520-309-0798. If anyone has any questions, information is free as far as what I'm concerned. So just call. I'll be happy to help any way we can.
Yep. So I hope everybody got something out of that. You know, I mean, we spent an hour being very, very transparent. You know, we talked a lot of our anecdotes. I revealed some of my weaknesses, and I hope that, you know, if you're listening to this on YouTube at the Marketing Corner or on Spotify at the Marketing Corner, that you got something out of this. And if there's something that we did not address, feel free to reach out. You know, 520-339-0259. If you see this online, you know, leave something in the comments. Set up a coffee. You know, go to my Calendly page and set up a time for a coffee with us, and we'll sit there, be very, very transparent. I'll give you some little bullet points that you could do to improve your online presence and improve your business immediately. So there's a lot of stuff people can do today to improve their presence. You just got to do it.
Yep.
Just got to do it. So thank you for everybody listening on the Marketing Corner. I think this is episode 30. Go Cats, beat the Ducks today.
Yep.
So it's a big, big game. We're going to be in the Sweet 16 this time next week. Hopefully we're talking about the Sweet 16.
We came on strong against Akron, so hopefully we'll take that momentum with us.
Yeah, have a great week, and we'll see everybody next week.